Dear friends, the meaning of the stanza that I just took for the discussion is not a new one, especially for those who are gathered here. We have been discussing this for quite some time, and the meaning of which is purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path is simply for the sake of purity in terms of knowledge and vision of the way. So this particular discourse is continuously talking about knowledge and vision in all the sections that we have been discussing. So, which is a very clear sign that the teaching of the Buddha is not just for the purpose of intellectual entertainment. It is something that you can see. It is something that you can experience. So it is just not only the knowledge, it is experience as well. When we worship Dhamma, you should be able to remember, we say is perfectly expounded to be seen here and now. So that is why in this particular discourse, the Blessed One is talking about at all the stages to have not just the knowledge of what's going on, you can have the experience, the vision of it, right? So it's the path as well as the way. And that we have been discussing for quite some time. And the background of the discourse is, as you remember, it's very impromptu discourse. It was never planned. Blessed One did not, or in this case, Venerable Sariputta did not address an assembly as such. It was just a coincidence that some monks came and visited the Blessed One, and then Blessed One said something about qualities of a good teacher, and then the disciples mentioned, yes, we have a teacher of the qualities you are talking about, and that particular teacher is so and so. And then Venerable Sariputta was very interested to see such a monk who is working as a teacher, who is modest, contented, secluded, unentangled, with aroused persistence, and virtuous, and concentrated, and is having discernment, and having the release, having the knowledge and vision of the release as well again. So not only that he has those things, he's also encouraging and inspiring and advising his disciples as well to do the same thing. So one day happened that this particular monk, Venerable Sariputta came to know that this particular monk, Venerable Punna, who is also known as Manthani Putta, son of Manthani, has visited the Blessed One, and straight away Venerable Sariputta stopped everything and chased him and caught him in a park where a monk usually rests. And in that park, after catching, he asked a series of questions. When Venerable Punna said that he is a disciple of the Blessed One. So the questions he asked was, are you living this holy life for the purity of the virtue, for the purity in terms of the mind, or whether it's for the purity in terms of view, purity in terms of perplexity, purity in terms of what is and what is not the path, purity in terms of the way, or purity in terms of the knowledge and vision of the way. And the answer of Venerable Punna was for each of these questions, no. Everything he kept on saying, no, no, no. And then it looks like, well, of course not, but it looks like, and someone may interpret that way, Venerable Sariputta is asking some sort of an annoying type of a question. For everything you are saying no, so why did you then live this holy life, as live this celibate life? Then he says, I'm living this celibate life for the sake of total unbinding through the lack of clinging. Then he again asks the same question, or he again takes the same circumstances and asks whether these things, whether each of these is so-called total unbinding. Then he says again for each of the questions, such as, is purity in terms of virtue total unbinding, or whether it's purity in terms of mind total unbinding, etc., so on and so forth. And again, the answer is no, 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 my friend. Then Venerable Punna takes the driving seat and tells him, you can't tell any of these things as total unbinding, because at each of these instances, there is some sort of clinging. And therefore, you can't say each of these separately taken as eradication of clinging or the total unbinding. Therefore, let me give you a simile. The simile is where a monk, where the king goes to a faraway city for some official work, and he's using 7 carts from one town to the other. And then it is wrong to say that he came to that particular city in the last one, because he did not come the whole journey in that one. And it is wrong to say that he came from the first one or any of the other previous ones, because they did only part of the journey. So it is right to say that each one led to the other, and then the journey was complete. And it's the same thing even here. He says, purity in terms of virtue is simply for the sake of purity in terms of the mind. And purity in terms of the mind is for the sake of the view, purity of the view. And purity of view is for the purity of overcoming perplexity. And purity in terms of overcoming perplexity is for the purity in terms of the knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path. And then purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path is simply for the purity in terms of the knowledge and vision of the way. And purity in terms of knowledge and vision of the way is for the sake of purity in terms of knowledge and vision itself. So, therefore, it is not one taken in isolation is considered total unbinding. It is one leading to the other. And there is, if you look at this series, it is also very interesting to see that one particular thing, especially from the mind onwards, it is two-way path. Purity in terms of virtue is for the purity in terms of the mind. And also, if you take the purity in terms of view, that means purity in terms of the mind has already taken place. So therefore, it is two-way. When mind is purified through virtue, and it naturally gives rise to the view. And then when the view is cleared, and that gives the impression that the mind is done with. So anyway, we have discussed those things, and we will discuss those things again once again in the last summing up session. But my topic today, as we took at the beginning, our topic is purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path, is simply for the sake of purity in terms of knowledge and vision of the way. And we discussed this. We when we practice, and our practice is when it is improving, when we are picking up the practice, and there will have certain instances where our practice gets so attractive, or if I put it this way, the practice will provide circumstances which are very attractive, which are very soothing, which are very magnetizing. And Blessed One is categorizing 10 such instances as 10 imperfections. And these 10 imperfections, although they are not perfect situations, but they happen, or they can be experienced only by people whose practice is developing. And the initial such instance is called obasa, or illumination. And the next one is the knowledge. Next is rapturous happiness, tranquility, bliss, resolution into mundane qualities, excessive exertion, which is the energy, or rigid mindfulness or assurance, and thinking that you have firm equanimity, and magnetizing attachment. So those are 10 imperfections. So I'm not going to go into detail. How these things happen is when you are able to bring your attention to, say, for example, the breath, or for your walking, your mind comes out of the rest of the world. As a result, your mind is very free. Your mind becomes momentarily very peaceful, and as a result, you may be able to see the particular communication that is happening in the system, that is happening in your mental process, and such appearance of such communication will be creating some illuminations in your mind. Let me put it this way. Our nervous system is basically communicating using electromagnetic fields. So when our mind is away from the sensual world, and when it comes to the body, there will have certain glimpses of such communications of electromagnetic fields, and they appear as illuminations in the head, or illuminations in your mind. That is one way one can understand. And the other way is that when there is some, say, for example, brass or a copper or gold plate, which has been neglected for a long time, and after some time somebody takes it and just rub it off, or just start brushing. So as soon as you brush, you can see that brightness of the plate starts to appear. So the same thing in our mind as well. We have neglected this for eons of our existence, and with our practice, it starts. We start clearing the dirt, and as a result, start giving the natural effect of clearing of dirt. So like that, the illuminations will happen, and it looks like I'm going to get bogged down in these 10 imperfections, which I'm not going to do any further. Similarly, you will have knowledge as well. You will get certain momentary thoughts, processes, mental processes, that you have understood certain things in the Dhamma that you have heard. And like that, you will have rapture, etc. And those things, since they are very attractive, people may tend to get bogged down in their practice at those levels. So when it comes to that level, there is an important decision that the practitioner will make depending on how he is clearing his reports. The teacher will be able to see whether he is stuck in any of these places, and the teacher will guide him to the right path. And when the teacher guides him to the right path, in the sense, teacher will say, just be mindful even of that. So he will bring the mindfulness even to such imperfect situation, and he will be able to help in that manner, not to get bogged down, get attached to such situations, and just be aware. And then he will clear his path, and that decision, that judgment, although teacher is triggering the student to take, that the judgment is taken by the student while practicing, and that is called, that is usually known as full understanding as investigation or judging. We call it in Pali, Jnata Parinya. So that is something that will happen after discussion, after listening to talks, and after clearing your practice reports. And it may take some time, because those situations, number one, students will not report. Number two, it has to develop to a certain level for the student to report. So therefore, it may take some time, and arriving or achieving imperfection in itself is a great way forward in the practice. So now, once you make that judgment to be mindful even for the imperfections, then what happens is you go more inside your physical and mental processes. So when your physical and mental processes intensifies, then you will be able to see very physical and mental process in very micro level. When you see it in micro level, in 4 foundations of mindfulness, and even being those who are practicing mindfulness, you may see your breath becomes very subtle. And once the breath is subtle, your attention goes to the body. And once the attention goes to the body, and when you perfectly keep your attention in the body, you may initially feel it very stiff and very tough, or very warm or very cold. You will feel it some way. But when you keep on observing it for some time, after few months or few weeks or few years, you may start observing that it is not stiff, it is not warm, it is not cold. This body is always having the nature of appearing and disappearing, because your mind is more and more in the body. When the mind is more and more in the body, the natural phenomena in the body is appearing and disappearing, and that is how we are growing ever since we came out from mother's womb. And not only came out from mother's womb, even in mother's womb, what happens is this appearing and disappearing is happening, and growth is happening based on that. So we don't see that when we have our attention to the outside world, when we have our attention to the sensual objects. But we have taken it out of the sensual object. We have put our attention to the breath, which is going inside our body, and through using the breath as the vehicle, we have driven into the body. So once you are driven into the body, and if you observe the body without getting panic, and very peacefully, very quietly, very patiently, you will have certain glimpses initially of this natural phenomena. And if you don't get unnecessarily, I would say, anxious or panic or impatient, you will be able to see this natural phenomena of appearing and disappearing. And when you see that, that becomes the start of the path. And that start of the path is called a knowledge. And that knowledge, and of course, not only just knowledge, you have the experience and you see the experience as well, not from your eyes, but from your mindfulness, from your attention. So therefore, you have the vision of it as well. So that is called rise and fall, knowledge of rise and fall. We call it Udaya Anvaya Darshan Jnana. Once you have this knowledge and vision of rise and fall, and you will keep continuously observing the knowledge and vision of rise and fall. And with that, you are introducing a new thing to your mind. The thing that you are introducing to your mind is the reality of the world, reality of the universe, reality of anything. The reality of anything is the quality of impermanence. So you have seen your gross breath become subtler, and then that subtle breath has disappeared. Instead, you have taken your attention to the body, and then the body is also not its concrete thing. Now you see your body as bubbling up, or boiling pot of water, or a pond into which some raindrops are falling, or something like that, or maybe a pot of popcorn, something like that. You may say this is always appearing and disappearing, and you are not anxious about it. You just keep observing, and as a result, your mind is now getting used to the impermanence. And not only the impermanence, since you see impermanence, you can also observe that this impermanent thing is giving you some friction. It is giving you some sensation, which is slightly, maybe for some people, pins and needles, or for some people even more difficult. And that is the seeing of the suffering. And that is the inherent nature. When there is something jumping up and down, there will have some friction, and that friction you will be able to see. So not only impermanent, you also start seeing suffering. And not only that, since it is suffering, you see that you have no way of monitoring it, or you have no way of taking the mastery over it. It instantly happens, it naturally happens, it continuously happens, it constantly happens, and you can't control it. So therefore, you also see the non-self nature of the phenomena of your body. So in that manner, when you keep on observing rise and fall, your mind gets used to those things, get used to those three qualities: quality of impermanence, quality of suffering, and quality of non-self. And more you continue your practice, when you see, you gradually get rid of the other side of this impermanence, other side of suffering, and other side of non-self. What is the other side of impermanence? You gradually depreciate the permanent notion, the perception you had that things are permanent. You don't try to make things any permanent now. You don't try to seek pleasure as much as you have been seeking pleasure. earlier. And also you don't try to control things as you have been doing in the past, because your attitude changed. And when that happens, when your observation of the body in that manner, I'm not saying when you see this rise and fall, each and every day you will see rise and fall, and maybe you see it for once, and then you will not get there for few months, and then once again it appears, and it will be there for few days and then disappears, because you should get used to it. You should provide the right condition in your practice to come to that. But if you have been able to come to that stage once, and sooner or later you may be able to provide the same conditions again, and then you will get used to providing those conditions. So once you get used to providing these conditions, you will be more and more mindful and observant of what is going on. And when you become more and more observant of what is going on, you will not create any mental volitions. So when you don't make any mental volitions, what you will see is not rise and fall. You will, since your mind has, to a great extent, has stopped creating intentions, it does not create another consciousness. Since it does not create another consciousness, you don't create another body. So what happens is your rising speed drops down, or rising will gradually stop. Once the rising stops, you will see not only the rising has stopped, the mind has also stopped. Since the mind has stopped, only the rising stopped. And as a result, that stopped mind will see things that are depreciated, things which are already made will start depreciating, right? So our body, our physical and mental process is already made, and new things are not appearing, new things are not being made, new things are not being manufactured, because you don't make any intentional activity, which we call sankhara. And since there is no intentional activity, no consciousness, but the existing ones are disappearing. So you start seeing, instead of rise and fall, you start seeing depreciation. You start seeing more falls, and it intensifies. Again, if you are not panicked, if you don't suspect what is happening, and if you just let it go, and when you come to this stage, you are very skillful in being mindful, you are very skillful in being observant, so you just let things happen. And you may start seeing the dissolution initially, very little, but over time, when you keep on your practice, it will be more and more, and it will come to a point that your attention will go, that the whole body will be blown off, like vision may appear, and that is called the dissolution. So when this happens, if you accept it with a smiling face, if you accept it happily, if you don't get anxious or panic, then it becomes a knowledge. So once that knowledge comes into the picture, since you no longer consider that things are permanent, since you no longer consider that things are so pleasurable, you don't consider things have your control, your attachment gradually reduces. You see the disgust in things. You see the destruction of things. So in this manner, your attitude further changes into to challenge the craving that you are having in the world or in the existence. So therefore, gradually you start seeing the void of the things that we have are not having any significance, are not having any value. So since you see that things are getting dissolved at this rate, and there is nothing to hold on to, you feel little bit upset, a little bit curious as to whether there is any point in holding on to anything. Now, in this case, when I say holding on to anything, we are not talking about any sensual object. We are talking about the objects that we have in the practice. So our attention has been to our breath, and through the breath to the body, and our attention is in very, very, very subtle things. So even those subtle things you see getting dissolved, and there is no point having our attention even to those subtle things. So therefore you see a danger even in these things. So that danger is for the sign of the five aggregates. What you will see may be a sign of the form, maybe the sign of the feeling, maybe a sign of the perception, maybe a sign of the mental volition, or maybe a sign of consciousness. So you don't see that there is any point in these things. And not only that you have any point in those things, even the continuation of those things, there is no point. Because that is, if you do that, when you really keep the mindfulness to the fore, what happens is they dissolve. But before Buddha, they did not see the dissolution because they did not have the mindfulness to the fore. Instead, they were holding on to these signs. They were holding on to those shapes. They were holding on to the continuation, the flux of things. But the Blessed One, what he does is, let any damn thing happen. You just observe closely, don't hold. So as soon as you let it go and just observe what happens, it just vanishes and it terrifies you. And terrifies in the sense, you are not terrified of what is happening because you are observant of it, but you are terrified of the fact, what am I going to now hold on? If I hold on to these things, these are just vanishing, these are just disappearing. So is there any point? That is the terror that we are talking about, not that you really get terrified or get some mental disorders. It is change in attitude. So this change in attitude is for any becoming. It may be a becoming in the form world or material world or the immaterial world. Now you see there is no creator. Things are simply appearing and disappearing, and more disappearing when you stop when you stop mental volition. And this has been happening in our existence in the past. It is happening now, and it will happen in the future as well. So therefore, he sees the great danger in having these signs and continuation of this. So realizes, therefore, both the sign and the continuation is just void, and it is disgusted rather, and there is no master in there. So that leads to the knowledge of danger. From the terror, you see the knowledge of danger. The danger is, there are a lot of people, when they practice, they try to hold on to the breath. They try to hold on to whatever they have. They don't want to give up. It's very subtle now. The practice is going so well, and attention is so keen, and they're trying to keep the attention instead of just being observant. And very, very, very subtle continuation of the sign. Very subtle maintenance of the sign and continuation will be there. So when you have the terror, then the danger that you see in that is seeing the sign, continuation, and becoming in the material or immaterial world leads to realize this danger. So not only he just sees the danger in the sign or the continuation or becoming, he also realizes that the absence of the sign, absence of the continuation, or in other words, discontinuation or non-becoming, are seen as more pleasurable, and it's heavenly and extinguishing things, right? So if you have the form, and if that form is giving some sort of suffering, some sort of danger, some sort of terror, when that form is not there, you don't have it. So therefore, he sees the problem, and he also sees the outcome, the solution for it, the answer for it. It is not that he really sees. It's once again a judgment that he will make from the experience that he has been having ever since he started. What has he experienced ever since he started practice is everything that was gross, getting subtler, and letting go of things. And he has a great experience of letting go or the renunciation of the things. And then the mind matures to understand that letting go of everything will be more pleasurable. So he sees the danger and as well the way out of it. So that decision, when he makes, he becomes very dispassionate about everything, especially the holding on to the sign, hold continuation of the sign, or becoming something. Because before Buddha, they were not only holding on, they were before Buddha, not only they were continuing, and because of those things, they became something. The good example is ascetic Asita. When ascetic Asita saw the Prince Siddhartha, when he was born, ascetic Asita smiled and then cried. He smiled because this little prince is going to be Buddha. Therefore, he is giving liberation, he is giving salvation to so many beings. And then he cried because even if he wants, he knows that he is going to be a cabbage somewhere in the universe. Even if he wants, he can't come out and listen to the teaching of the Buddha. So he has, from his practice, he knows he is becoming this particular person, this particular being. So therefore, he becomes the person who is practicing in this manner, becomes more and more dispassionate to what? To the sign he is having, to the continuation of the sign, and then therefore becoming of anything out of it. So therefore people say, I just sit and I just walk. But you can't just say, I just sit and I just walk. Before saying that, you must have seen a lot of things. You must have had a lot of experience. So with that, only the teacher will understand that whether he's really dispassionate or whether he's conditioning his mind to dispassionate. So that is, when we listen to a talk like this, you may feel, okay, I just walk, right? And people have, of course, said, I just walk, I just sit, and I have no passionate about it. But what we will do is then we will check the path he has come. So if he is not able to give the experiences that may lead to the true dispassion, then we know it's a conditioning of the mind. And that is also the nature. That is human nature. And then we will gradually lead them to the right point based on their report. So this, the person who has this dispassion, that practitioner, will be dispassionate about the material and immaterial worlds as well. So you don't create that world now. So this is the dispassion, and such beings who dispassion becomes dispassionate. We gave the simile last time. That is, just as a golden swan that delights in the 7 lakes in the foothills of Chitta Peak in Himalayas, not in the filthy puddle at the gate of a village outcasts. So too is the practitioner finds delight in his development in the practice. Right? So when your practice is getting more and more improving, then you will be delighted in the practice. You will be delighted in letting go of things more and more when your dispassion is happening. And you don't go into the sign. You don't go into the continuation of the sign. You don't go into so-called some sort of a becoming. That is seen as a puddle of filthy puddle at the gate of a village of outcasts. So much put down. The sign, the continuation, and the becoming has been so much undermined and how do you get the word? Disliked and condemned by Buddha. So practitioner tries continues his practice without holding on to them. And that, when that dispassion happens, your factors for enlightenment are very matured. You have great attention to lot of repulsiveness of the body and repulsiveness of the food and all that. So when those external factors are also in the right combination, you lead, when you try your dispassion more and more, when you continue your practice, when you don't want to hold on to the sign, when you don't want to hold on to the continuation, when you don't want to avoid becoming, what happens now? You become so anxious and you feel like that you have the desire for deliverance. You have the desire for liberation. You have the desire for freeing yourself of all these unwanted shackles. You call it in Pali, munchitu kamyata jnane. Munchitu means freeing, liberation, rescue. And kamyata means willingness. You have the willingness because you are dispassionate. You don't want any damn thing, right? So willingness to free from all material volitions, all mental volitions. Willingness to avoid the attempts the consciousness is trying to establish itself, right? Your consciousness will try to find something and establish mind somewhere. You have the willingness to throw it away, to avoid that establishment taking place when your practice develops. And initially, trying to liberate, you may experience some difficulty. So, or that you will see that willingness as a difficult situation because it's not easy You have been generating so much of craving for many things, and it has been reduced to the sign. It has been reduced to the continuation of the sign. Maybe material, maybe immaterial. Right now, you are trying to get rid of that as well. You are already forgotten about the sensual pleasures. You are already forgotten about the pleasures that arose from the practice itself. Now, you simply have that sign, and you are going to discontinue that sign as well and avoid becoming something or somebody. And when you have that, you start feeling considerable difficulties in your practice. And how you feel, and the books are giving some beautiful similes for it. This is how you feel. It says, as if a frog stuck in a snake's mouth, right? So if a snake catches a frog, and if it can't straight away swallow it, and only half in the mouth, what does the frog do? It will be trying all its best to go out, and the snake will be trying to suck the fellow inside as quickly as possible and as much as possible. So you may feel that sort of an experience. And you may, when that happens, you may feel definitely my practice is going in the wrong direction. Whereas that is exactly the right direction the practice is going. Because when we practice, we assume that we will get a beautiful limo car, and we will be put into that, and some divine being will drive it to nirvana. This is how we think when we practice. But the reality is that you start seeing more and more suffering that we create to ourselves. And the suffering we have created, when it is to be taken away from our systems, this is how you feel. And another simile they give is as if a fish caught up in a net. When a fish is caught up in a net and doesn't bother so long as it is in water, when it is gradually being pulled out of water, you just see what amount of dancers are happening in such a place, right? So you may have that sort of sensation, that sort of sentiment, that sort of feeling when the practice is developing. So if the practice is improving, you may feel that the practice is not going in the right direction. If it is improving, if it is not improving, you will feel that my practice is perfect. That's a funny way to look at it. If it is improving, you will have all sorts of difficulties, all sorts of unbearable situations, all mental confusions, right? Not that they will have a disorder, but you will have all confusion. That is because garbage is coming out. If those things are not happening, and if you can sit for hours, eyes closed and with a smile, which means maybe, I'm not saying 100%, maybe you are caught up somewhere. So therefore, it is very important to see how the practice is going and provide a report. And another example they are giving is elephant bogged down in mud. So when elephant is bogged down in mud, such a huge animal, in mud, it can't come out. And you may feel like that. And another one they are giving is as if a man caught up in a gang of robbers, or a deer caught up in a trap, right? So this is how you feel because you have now the willingness to free, but not 100% prepared. Willingness is there. So when you have the willingness, the next step in the path is the knowledge of reflection. In the knowledge of reflection, what happens is, although now you feel that you are stuck in the mouth of a snake, you don't stop your practice. You keep on doing. When you keep on doing, what you gradually learn is the art of how to come out of the mouth, because you have the willingness and you don't stop. So more you practice, you gradually learn the art You gradually learn the strategies. You gradually learn the methodology to escape from the trap, come out of the mud, come out of the net, come out of the snake's mouth, right? So, and that stage is called the knowledge of reflection. And here, although we use these similes, what you escape from is not the snake mouth really, but you escape from becoming something, somebody, some being. You escape from going into a womb again. You escape from getting into a particular state of either physical or mental. So that is what you escape from. And why this escape is necessary, why you are looking for strategies, is because now you don't simply see the impermanence when these things are happening. Your mind is seeing heightened mindfulness. Your mind is getting more and more mindful because of this intensifying mindfulness, or because of intensifying mindfulness, you see intensifying impermanence, and you see intensifying suffering. You see intensifying repulsiveness of the body. And when you see those things, intensifying repulsiveness of the self, and that is how, that is why you look for the escape, you look for liberation. And usually the strategies that you may use in such a situation is, you will definitely now have a very strict timetable. You will be maintaining your timetable very strictly. You will learn the art of letting go of the phenomena that is evolving. You will allow the evolving phenomena to take place. You don't try now to control things. You don't try now to look for breath. You don't try now to stop things or change things or change the practice or change the teacher, right? So if you have some faith in the teacher and the practice and in yourself, you let the evolving phenomena to proceed and proceed freely, and give up the desire, since you are stuck in the mouth of a snake. What have you got to do? It's life and death situation. So in this situation, you just give up your life and give up your body. And also, and some books say, in such situation, you offer your life to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and just observe things that are happening. Without any love to yourself, to your body, and you give it to, offer it to Buddha. And that is the highest offering you can do. And that is how you will be able to free yourself and get the right strategies. And when these things are happening, definitely you should have someone to talk to. You should have a teacher, right? And you should have not only have the teacher. If you feel that you need continuous support, you should have regular association with the teacher as well. And also very important, not to discuss this with each and every person that you meet. And it has to be with strictly the person who is guiding you. Otherwise, people mess you up like anything. There are instances that have happened. People go and, tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. And then if the other people are not practicing, and not only not practicing, they don't have those experiences, they become panicked. They become panic and they say, this is why we ask you not to meditate, you go mad. Right? So mad people don't really understand when others are coming out of madness. And they see we are mad. Those who are practicing are mad. And we are called, therefore, meditation, mad meditators. That's the term that is used to describe ourselves. So that's fine. To avoid such negative feedback coming to your mental process, should not discuss those things with everybody. And getting too involved with in the strategies also may delay the natural process. And if you have a particular strategy, you should not try to use that strategy so rigidly. You should allow the natural phenomena to take place. Otherwise, a lot of intentions will in doing things. So that instead of non-self, through that, a self may try to, gradually creep into the system. So therefore, you should have a strategy, but should not be so strict and involved with the strategy. And also, there is no defined methodology when you come to this level. What a teacher can do is support and pat your back only. Keep going. Good boy, good girl. And encourage them. And assure them that these are normal things that are happening. I'm not quite sure you are aware what I am talking about. But just imagine those similes. If you are in such situation, should not get upset. You just keep observing those things. And that is how we depreciate. That is the process of depreciating the mental corruptions we have in our mind. And that clear comprehension and the patience are the keys in this situation. So clear comprehension means you let the thing happen as it is. And you have got to be very patient. You should not be in a hurry to do it today, to do it in a week, to do it in a month. Let it take 100 years, I don't care. You should have that mentality. Be very patient when those things happen. When you are stuck in snake's mouth, then you can argue, how can we wait for 100 years? But if you have that patience, it is easy to come out of it. Otherwise, if you get panic, you allow the snake to swallow you. So therefore, the patience and clear comprehensions, natural evolution is the key. And most importantly, when you come to this level, you don't please find answers in the internet. And these days, everything we Google and try to find answers in Google. And you may not get the right answers, right? So therefore, you have got to be very careful. So such is the teaching of the Buddha, and it is a miracle that it has reached to us after even 25 centuries, as Venerable Rakita said this afternoon. And also, it's a miracle that there are teachers still available, fortunately, to teach us. And also, another miracle is that there are still people who are doing it and who can do it. The world is so complex compared to 2,600 years ago. But this Dhamma has not changed, at least slightly, at least a little bit. So this is a sign that the power of the Blessed One is still in the universe. And if we miss this chance, we might miss it forever. So if Dhamma arises in you, Buddha within you will also wake up. So may this talk and our practice inspire all of you to wake the Buddha within. Thiruvan Saranai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sukhi hotu. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Thiruvan Saranai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thiruvan Saranai. Good. Now we have few minutes if you want. If anyone is having any questions, if anyone is having any report, we can take few minutes to clear them.
Bhante, if we do meditation, is it dangerous? Is there any dangers that like the spirit or something can disturb us? Or I should be very confident that it's quite safe if I do it like early morning or night time?
No, there is no particular time. You can do it anytime. The best time that the Blessed One giving is now. That is his auspicious time. So you can do it anytime. And coming to the question of spirits, it is all our mind. It's all our mind. If you feel that you are scared, you will be scared. But if you can become a daredevil, let anybody come and take me, I'm going to close my eyes. No devil will be able to come close to you. So it is therefore very important. And also I should tell you, since you asked this question, when you practice, it comes to a stage you start shivering. It may, I'm not saying everybody gets, or you may get some weird actions. You may get trembling, some weird things may happen. So either you or someone who sees you may think something is going wrong, or you have been possessed by somebody, or you are having some physical disabilities trying to happen or something like that. That is not what is happening. What happens is your mind comes to the body. When the mind comes to the body, our body is made of the elements, earth element, water element, air element, and whatever the other element. And those elements are having a particular nature. So when the mind comes to the body, you have given up the sensual world, so you don't consider things as self, right? If you consider things as self, you will be in the sensual world. So to come out of the sensual world, you will have to give up self to some extent. And that mentality, when that giving up happens, and when such mind is coming into the body, since there is no self, the nature of those elements will start working. So the nature of air element is to shake. The nature of earth element is to maybe for you to feel very stiff, or maybe for you to feel very, very soft, very light. And so therefore, even those things might happen. When they happen, especially this trembling and shivering and things like that, a lot of people, the practitioners themselves, think that they have been possessed. It's nothing like that. It is because your attention is in the body and elements are at work and you are doing so well. So this is why the discussion is very important when your practice is progressing. And it is something that the Blessed One has told Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda has once told the Blessed One, this 50% of this practice is in the hand of the Noble One. Then Blessed One has said, don't say that Ananda, don't say that Ananda. 100% is with the Noble One, with the Noble Friend. Because that person knows if you walk on the path, these things may happen. So you will have to rely on that person. To rely on that person, you should have continuous dialogue, continuous discussion. Then he will understand that you are walking on the right path, depending on the report that you are providing. So I don't know what stage you are in, since you asked that question. So I just wanted to incorporate that as well into the answer.
Thank you, Bante. Yeah. Okay.
Anything here?
Bante, so I was listening to your Dharma talk just before, and it was quite good in the sense where you were saying if your meditation's going really good, then that's not necessarily a good thing. Because the other day, like I discussed with you, I had a really good meditation in my break at work, and I couldn't quite literally feel my legs, let alone, my body. It just sort of all just dropped off, and I was super relaxed, and it felt like I could sit there for a long time. Unfortunately, like yesterday and today, when I do my sitting meditation, I find that like I'm not comfortable, and it's almost like my mind's trying to search for that satisfaction and that I had the other day. And for an example is just before, I started feeling quite relaxed. I think I had loss of breath there because I gasped for air. But the worst part was I was leaning back, and it felt like I was going to literally fall back and hit my head. So I had to readjust myself. And then I got frustrated with myself because I had to readjust, and I was just, it sort of upset me a little bit. Is that my mind? The question is that my mind like trying to have a selfishness from the other meditation that, I had a really good meditation in my break, and now I'm on the search to try and get that back, and that's the reason I'm not having it, because I'm on that search? Or is it, what's happening there? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense, but it is not, you can't look at it the way you just mentioned. It is natural when you have a pleasant experience, our mind is looking for it, right? But in your case, you are very upfront about it, and you are aware of it, and you are telling everybody that you have that mentality, and disclosing that mentality to the group like that in itself is considering that as non-self. You don't try to keep it for yourself. You are not clinging onto it. You are not craving for it. That is the simple cleansing of the defilements. If you really do it, if you really hang on to it, you don't discuss. You just keep trying quietly. So the Blessed One this is why he is the omniscient one. He simply says you just discuss. Just see by discussing what a psychological and philosophical things are happening. Right? So therefore, although you are looking for it, you are really not. You are not really clinging or craving for it. And as a result, you have gone a step ahead, which you misinterpret again. What you said at work was that you didn't feel the lower part of your body, especially the legs. And that means you have lost the signs of the matter, right? Not that your leg is not there, but your mind is not taking those perceptions. And when your mind is not taking those perceptions to that extent, there is no self. And when this very same thing is happening to the rest of the body, when you are sitting, when the self is fading away, the body just drops. The person who was holding is no longer there. It drops. So what happens? The body just naturally falls down. Right? So if you know that it is falling down, what do we practice here? Actually, this is very important. What do we practice here? We practice mindfulness. We don't practice the way how to keep our body erect. Right? So if you know what is happening, just let it happen and observe. So you have then more details of things that happen when the self is depreciated. Of course, Venerable Rakita said in the afternoon that you will be very erect when the things are right, when the faculties are right, and you will feel all pleasant. That is fine when you achieve that state. But to achieve that state, there are a lot of other things on the way. So we are on the way. We are still work in progress. So there are a lot of things to happen. So because you are not craving as much to what happened, since you are divulging it, your practice is progressing and you have given up yourself more, and therefore the body is falling. So just continue and don't readjust. And it can be readjusted and the practice can be continued. But just let it fall and try to see a few more things. I remember once when this was happening to me, I did not allow it to happen. I was thrown away because that falling force is so much. And if you try to, hold on to it, you don't know who will win. And it happened in Dant uncle's house. And nobody was there. I was sitting for about 1.5 hours. They got up and after the bell went. And in the last half an hour, this happened. And then I went and hit a wall. And I heard everybody at home was running up and down to see what fell down. Then I immediately got up and sat like a saint. So they very, very softly opened the door and peeped in, and I'm sitting there. And I don't think they even know now that this happened. So therefore, just get more information of those things. Those are not abnormal, right? And also when this happens, there are some people who are really enjoying them as well. Doesn't matter. We have remedies for them. But at this stage, what is important is to observe the process, right? So rather than poking our fingers. Make sense? Not a worry. Is anybody else having anything else?
Bante.
Yes.
My experience in the meditation, because one time I can feel, I focus on the pain in the body when I see the body, and I focus on the pain in the body. Then I can, because it's very I can feel the intensity of the pain become higher and higher and at the peak, and then slowly, gradually the intensity is decreasing and disappear. And I see that all the time,
Yeah.
Again and again it happens.
Yeah.
After that, after I see this pain coming and disappear, I think my mind doesn't bother about the pain anymore. So after that, I never feel pain. Do you know why?
Yeah, because your attitude is changing. Not that the pain is not there. Pain is there, but you don't give a damn.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is how, why Buddha asked us to observe the pain as pain, unpleasant feelings as unpleasant feeling, pleasant feelings as pleasant feeling. Because usually when we have unpleasant feeling, we generate hatred. When we have pleasant feeling, we generate craving. So if you simply observe, no matter what it is, what happens is our mind, our reaction stops to the pain. When the reaction stops, our attitude towards the pain changes.
Yeah, okay. So that's
then,
why.
Yeah, so then you have
Yeah.
pain, but you don't care.
Yeah, so I can sit quite long without feeling the pain. I know there is a pain, but just don't feel anything.
Yes.
It's
yes.
not like, oh, it's so painful like that. No, it's
Yes.
just like, okay, that it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
And I want to ask a question. Can you explain that pain? Is it a leg pain or is it
The
back
back pain.
Yeah.
Back pain.
So be prepared. If when you go through the pain in this manner, it is not done with. This is our mind is again trying to cheat us. Since you continuously observe, since you are not giving it up, and it gives you a scenario for you to be happy, right?
Okay.
So now you are more happy that you have been able to pay attention to the pain, and the pain has gone away, and now you have the mentality, okay, if pain comes, I can observe and then it will go away. And the next time you get a bit more difficult exam paper. Next time the pain comes, you get a harder pain. So when that comes, if you have a great expectation that you are able to, face it, and once you pay attention, it will go away quickly, then it will be easy for the pain to make you suffer. So therefore, don't overestimate the achievement. Always expect pain. Always keep the mindfulness to the fore, mindfulness in front, and have that mentality, not that I will be able to be mindful and reduce pain. That is what our mind is trying to do, to give you an ability to make you overestimate what is possible. So,
Okay, but yeah, if there is a pain, I will see the pain, but sometimes when I meditate, I can't feel my breath, and I can't feel my body as well.
yeah.
So I'm trying to, which one should I focus on?
Yes, this is again another good point. When we are mindful, what we are trying to do is to go beyond our physical processes and mental processes. So when you practice, if you don't feel the breath, you have gone beyond the breath. If you don't feel body, you have, to some extent, you have gone beyond the body. If you don't feel pain, you have gone beyond pain, right? So you don't have anything to pay attention to. But without pain, without body, without breath, you can pay attention to nothing. Now, say for example, when you, I'm not quite sure whether you will be able to hear this. I will just ring the bell. When I ring the bell, can I have that gong, please? You will hear that sound. Is it here? Thank you so much. Yeah, I will ring this bell. Let's see whether you can hear it.
No, I don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything also.
Okay, no, that's all right. So when you ring a gong, did you hear the bell that I played for sitting?
Yeah. Yes.
You heard that?
Yeah.
So I will do that once again and see what happens.
I can't hear the the bell.
You didn't hear the bell?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't hear
I
the
also
bell.
don't hear. Yeah.
Sorry. What happens is, I think, anyway, I will explain. When you ring the bell, you can listen to the sound. When you listen to the sound, it gradually drops. It gradually fades away. And when it is fading away, you can keep still listening. And then after a point, the sound will go away. but still you can keep listening, although there is no sound. You can keep your ear activated. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm just waiting there, right? It's just that I'm waiting.
Yeah. So
Just be there with
in the same
no
way,
fear.
in the same way, if you don't have breath, if you don't have pain, if you don't have body, don't feel body, but still you can be attentive. So you simply pay your attention to the fact that there is nothing for you to be aware of. You maintain your awareness of
Okay.
nothing. So that mindfulness is much more sharper, much more clever than the attention, than the mindfulness when you have breath, when you have pain, when you have the body. So this is very sharp. So,
Yep.
but it is very hard to be awake at this stage. But if you keep the sharp attention, then it will go to another layer of defilements.
Then what will happen if, let's say, I stay there all the time? So what will come? The breath will show up again?
I mean, it might come, it might not come. So don't worry about what will happen next. Always be the present moment. Present moment is you don't have anything and you simply are aware of that you don't have it.
Okay.
I mean, mind will try to look for things.
Mm.
And when you keep your attention like that, see what would the mind bring up, and then we will see the answer rather than projecting what would happen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bante. Yeah.
All right. So we can pass the positive energies that we have gathered today with the rest of the universe. For that, can I get Steve this time to transfer merit to everybody? And Chatu, you can give the phone to him.